Hello guys, hope you're doing well. I received a request from one of the followers to do a tutorial on Valhalla VintageVerb. So guys, today I am going to reveal each and every parameters of this VintageVerb. Hi, I'm Julian, sound engineer at ENZY Studios. I've been working in the music industry for the past 22 years. I've been using a lot of reverb units and reverb plugins, but I found this amazing plugin to be much more versatile. I hope this run through of Valhalla VintageVerb will surely help for all the upcoming producers and engineers. Let's dive straight into the talk. Valhalla VintageVerb is my personal reverb plugin. If you want to make use of this awesome and versatile plugin, then you need to know the parameters and what it does to your signal. Many great engineers suggest Valhalla VintageVerb because of its versatility and also because of its color. Let's go ahead and let's look at the setting of this reverb. So before understanding each parameters, let's know how to set the pot's direction while controlling. It has got a unique setting. As you can see, right click, velocity sensitive mode and a rotary mode. So if you tick on velocity sensitive mode, then you get to control it very precisely from 100 to like 0.99.98 7, and if you doesn't want that velocity sensitive mode, then there will be no precise control. Other thing is the rotary mode. You got 4 options: use circular dragging, use left right dragging, use up and down dragging, and use left right up and down dragging. This is basically if you want to control with your mouse, and if you set to the circular dragging, then you have to control by moving the mouse cursor on a circular direction, and then if you can use the left right dragging, then moving the mouse on left right, and same with up and down dragging. It's down, up. You can make use of this while controlling your pots. Now let's shift to the parameters of this Valhalla VintageVerb. So guys, at present this plugin is at factory default, and it has got 3 colors: 1970, 1980 and now. And in now there is graphics user interface, and there is darkness mode, and there is lightness mode. So if you want to go into the darkness mode, you can go. Now at present we will stay to the color mode. 1970 basically is slow attack, low initial echo density, chorus modulation, dark tone. The main important point you guys want to know about 1970, it is downsampled to 10 kilohertz. That means this preset is not so bright, and it has got the 10 kilohertz. Whatever is about 10 kilohertz, it has been brought down, so this preset is not so bright. First, hear the sound of 1970. Now start hearing the sustain of the snare after the initial attack of the original sound. Now let's shift to 1980. So basically 1980, it has got the same thing. The only thing is the down sampling is not there in 1980. So no down sampling. That means the frequency will go about 10 kilohertz, and this 1980 color is brighter than 1970. Now let's shift to 1970 back and check the sustain. (1980). Obviously it is brighter than 1970. Now let's move to now. It has got the same thing, no down sampling, but brighter than 1980, bright, clean modulation. Now let's hear the sound. So guys, now let's shift to the factory default mode and start with the mix knob. This is the mix knob. Right now it's on 100% because the plugin is on the auxiliary track, and the snare signal has been sent through a send fader to an auxiliary track. This is the way you should give reverbs. The main important point I want to share is about the mix knob is you can lock this mix knob, and you can check the presets of the snares. And if the mix knob is not locked and you're checking the preset, then it will go to 100% automatically. So this is a nice option, you can lock it. Next, we are shifting to pre-delay. Pre-delay is the delay before the reverb decay hits. Let's shift to the factory default again, and the factory default pre-delay is 20 millisecond. So the decay will kick in after 20 millisecond. I'll show you one example of setting to 500 millisecond. Now we are going to hear the initial attack of the snare, and after 500 millisecond you will hear the decay. Now let's set it to factory now, factory default. So the decay is hitting after 20 millisecond. So pre-delay really helps you get suppression and possibly intelligibility from the sound source and the reverbs. It can also be used as an creative effect. Now let's shift to the decay. Decay is the reverb time you want to set. It has a max of 70 seconds on this plugin. Let's check the 70 seconds mode. No, I'm not going to wait till 70 seconds. This is just an example. So you can set your own decay time. Now these are the modes. There are a lot of modes, as you can see: concert hall, bright hall, plate, room, chambers, random space, chorus space, ambience. So you can set according to your own taste. This reverb plugin is very versatile and every reverb plugin sounds different. Let me know what are your favorite reverb plugin in the comment box. Till then, watch this video for different types of reverb and do hit the bell icon. Now let's shift to damping. In damping, you have got two different sections: high frequency and bass frequency damping. So high frequency and high shelf are related to each other, and bass frequency and bass mult is related to each other. So high frequency is all about the frequency you want to set for the high shelf. If the high shelf is at 0, that means nothing is happening. I'll give you one example by inserting an EQ. Let's insert a FabFilter Pro EQ2, and let's go for a high shelf, set it 6000, and now it is at 0. So the moment you decrease the high shelf, this is what happens. If the snare or any element bright, you can do it by this high shelf. So let's hear and observe what happens if you decrease the high shelf. So basically it's decreasing your brightness. You can set the frequency, how much brightness you want to decrease. If you set to 800 hertz, there will be no brightness at all. Now let's shift to base frequency and base mult. So first of all, this base mult is related to the decay time. Whatever x it is, like suppose this is 2.00x, 2 multiplied by, if suppose the decay is 4.00, 2 multiplied by 4 is 8 second. So the low frequency decay till 700 hertz will sustain till 8 second. Now let's check it. Now let's put this 2x to 4.00x for the longer session of the low frequency. So just check. Now let's decrease it to 2 seconds. Now if you decrease it to nothing, and to 4x, so you can only hear the low frequency sustain. Now let's shift to shape. In shape there are two parameters, one is size and one is attack. As you know, the size, if the size is small, you get reflections. If the size is more, you get decay. Let's hear it. So size is to determine the room size, small, medium or big. Let's go for the attack. This attack knob initially controls the initial attack of the reverb decay. Let me set at 0. Let me hear the attack of the initial sound, and when I switch it all the way to 100, you don't hear any of the attack from the original sound, and it almost sounds like it swells up into the reverb. So like it almost does like a pre-delay thing. So let's hear it carefully. I hope you understood. When you set it to 0, you hear the initial sound attack, and when I set it to 100, you hear the reverb attack after the original sound. So almost it works like a pre-delay. Now let's shift to the diffusion thing. Diffusion as early and late. What happens when you set the early knob and late knob to 0%, and what happens when you set to 100%? So let me tell you one simple thing. If your early knob and late knob is at 100%, that means there will be no reflections, no early reflections, no late reflections. When you decrease this early thing, you will get to hear the early reflection. So now hear the sustain carefully. You can hear that reflection very minutely if you decrease the early thing, and also the same happens with the late thing. Late reflection, if you decrease it, you will hear the late reflections. And if you set to 100%, there will be no reflection. Now let's shift to modulation. Modulation is about chorus modulation effect. The rate is about the rate of modulation you want to give, and the depth is about the amount of chorus effect you want to give in. Kindly observe the sustain when I increase the depth. As you can hear, when I increase it, there is a depth in modulation. This is what the chorus effect does. Now let's shift to EQ. EQ is all about high cut and low cut in simple terms. If you want the snare to be bright, then increase the high cut. And if you want less bright, then cut it. As you can see, the sustain is less bright when you cut it, and if you put to 20 kilohertz, you can hear all the brightness. Same applies with the low cut. The low frequency, if you want to cut, you can cut it. So guys, I hope you understood everything. Now that you guys know all the parameters and what they do to your sound, you can now experiment with this fabulous plugin. Since we know the plugins in depth, I'm going to do my next video on how to set up reverbs on vocals using Valhalla VintageVerb. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a valuable thing. Till then, watch this video for more content. Do like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Cheers.